Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Hunziker, and welcome to the Creating a New World uh, show. I'm your host, and I'm a self-leader, which means that I think, decide, and act on my own. And I am a creator, a conscious being, which means that I create values and that I uh, perceive the world and integrate it. Let me, and I'm also the chair of the 12 Visions Party of New Jersey. Let me go ahead and introduce our panel members. First, we have uh, Harry Dolgen. He is the treasurer of the 12 Visions Party of New Jersey. Hi, Harry.
Hiya, Bill. It's nice to be back. I miss you guys. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Harry.
And we also have Bob McCaffrey, who is the second vice chair of the 12 Visions Party. Uh, Welcome, Bob.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you enjoy the show and welcome.
Okay, this show is about the 12 Visions world, a world of freedom, wealth, health, and peace. Author and entrepreneur Mark Hamilton thought about what a world without initiatory force would be, and he chose to write the result in the form of 12 visions. Here they are. Vision 1, become the person you were meant to be. Vision 2, live the life you were meant to live. Vision 3, feel extraordinary. Vision 4, stop aging. Vision 5, get the job of your dreams. Vision 6, start the company you always wanted. Vision 7, embrace the lover of your fantasies. Vision 8, diet down to the body you always envied. Vision 9, become a genius. Vision 10, surround yourself with geniuses. Vision 11, ride a prosperity wave that will make you a millionaire. And Vision 12, enjoy nearly perfect physical and mental health. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm there already.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it does not exist except as an idea. On this episode, we will look at Vision 6, start the company you always wanted. Okay, this time I'm going to let Harry start off if he's all right with that.
Absolutely. You want me to start Vision 9 from the Visions book? Vision 6 from the Visions book, everybody?
Yep, and go ahead and read all the way down and leave off the last sentence of the paragraph. That's all we're going to read from the book today.
Okay. Vision 6, start the company you always wanted. This is the living company. It's an inner circle vision. Now, let me tell you how businesses look dramatically different in my 6th vision. This is Mark Hamilton speaking. After the job revolution that's shed bicameral mentalities at work, similar to our 21st century jobs, our 21st century companies came to life. Businesses and its many neothink geniuses took care of every need we could possibly imagine, and even needs we never imagined. Breathtaking business breakthroughs became exciting topics of discussion. Instead of politics, tomorrow's front page news media was packed full every day with the latest technological breakthroughs. People check their computers for news sometimes 2, 3, or more times a day to get the latest updates on breakthroughs. People tomorrow would check the news with far greater enthusiasm than people today. Checking the latest breakthroughs was more stimulating than checking the latest football scores or the latest movie releases. For the technological breakthroughs directly boosted the reader's standard of living. Sports stars and movie stars, by the way, took a distant second in popularity and fame to the business stars. For the business stars brought wealth, health, and excitement directly to the people. Indeed, ordinary people became the beneficiaries of the new living businesses with their workforces of creative neothink geniuses.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. Basically, what we're looking at here is a world in which the most important people in the world are business people. not politicians, not movie stars, not sports, not athletic stars, but business people. Because in the 12 Visions world, business people will bring us amazing new technologies, everything we need, and at prices that will get steadily lower and lower until everything you want you'll be able to have, even even on a limited income, because things will become so inexpensive that it will be like your income has increased 100 times or more. I look forward to living in this world where all I have to do is, and in fact, people will be out there, businesses will be out there to cater to your needs. So all you have to do is say, I would like this, and you'll have several businesses vying for your money. All of them trying to produce what you want is at the lowest possible price, so that you'll take their business.
Wow.
Any other comments on that?
Wow. Well, I can, let me just chime in. I don't have that much to say, but to me, what this passage is saying, that the stimulations of neothink will basically outstimulate the forces of nature. Okay. Right now, as it stands, I'm enthralled with sports stars on TV, tennis players, and all the like. And it's hard for me to imagine right now, in this world that we live in, that businesses would have more excitement for me than these sports stars. But I'm looking forward to that, and it's an exciting thing to think about. That's basically it.
Thank you, Harry. Any comments on that, Bob?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I'm already seeing, as I mentioned earlier, in upgrading my phones, what I noticed is the way things are going with the industry and businesses. I've got a much better phone, a much more efficient phone, and basically 2 phones are now costing me less than what my plan was yesterday. And I've dropped it by at least $10 to $15, and I've got much better phone than what I've had before, and much better calling plan, because now I've got unlimited calling, unlimited texting, and it's unbelievable.
Interesting. More services, less cost, pretty much.
Yes, yes. And better tool to work with also.
Wow. Yeah.
And this is just a taste of what the 12 Visions world will be like.
Yes.
Because in the 12 Visions world, this will happen in every kind of business. Anything you would want, every day will be better and cheaper and less expensive. And now all services will become less expensive and more beneficial to the people receiving the services.
Right.
I mean, it's just going to be a world where businesses are just going to be there. All you have to do is say, I would like this, and there'll be 5, 6, 7 businesses saying, I can give it to you for this much, and somebody else saying, I can give it to you for less. And I mean, basically, everything is going to become so expensive that you'll be able to build a house for less than it cost 30 years ago. And it'll be a better house. It'll be a modern house with all the conveniences, most economic, best heating and air conditioning and everything, in the safest house you ever lived in. No worries of the house catching on fire or anything like that. And also may even have automatic modern conveniences such as self-cleaning abilities and those kind of things. I mean, we have the precursor of those things now in things like the Roomba and other things, but the progress has been so slow. It's taking decades for new stuff to come out. But in the 12 Visions world, new stuff will be appearing daily. Every day there'll be more and more breakthroughs and new technologies to make our lives easier and better.
Interesting.
That'll happen when we get the government out of the way and we're able to produce the things we need to produce, and move mankind forward.
Right, and people have their own choice. People
Yes.
won't be told. People make their own choice, and they live by that. And whatever the consequences are, is a result of a result of their choices, not what the government told them to do. So yeah, that's thrilling. That's thrilling to me too. Yep.
Hmm. Yep. You know, everywhere the government is controlling things, you get very little choice, and things cost more and more. But in the 12 Visions world, without the government in the way, you'll have more and more choices, and it'll cost less and less.
Exciting.
Yep.
Exciting. Very exciting.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next section. I'm still holding off on doing Where's the Force. I haven't gotten any response letting me know that people still want it. So until I do, I'm probably gonna leave it out. So I'm going to move on to the next section. Now, the 12 Visions movement is a group of like-minded individuals with one goal: to create the 12 Visions world. This movement is being organized by the 12 Visions Party. Here is the purpose of the 12 Visions Party. The TVP has one purpose: to bring about an initiatory force-free, protection-only, service-based government via the Prime Law Amendment and protection-only budget, forever ending the age-old power-based government and its virulent, force-backed rule of man, forever depoliticizing America and eventually the entire world, thus setting free the geniuses of society, launching the wealth of mankind as described in the TVP platform. And speaking of the platform, we're going to continue looking at the National 12 Visions Party platform, which is basically the platform of the 12 Visions movement. And I'll start off, and then we'll take turns reading sections of this and talking about it. We're moving on to the first section of the platform, titled "The Greatest Kept Secret of All Time for Universal Wealth Hidden for 3,000 Years." Your leaders have prevented you, your parents, your children from living an amazing, wealthy life. For 3,000 years, leaders of all civilizations have shared this secret. They have even waged wars and starved their own people to guard this secret. By leaking this secret inside these pages to enough people, you and your loved ones will eventually live like millionaires. Universal wealth comes to America with one simple change. The simple change will eradicate poverty and multiply the people's wealth. It will make all people wealthy, including the poor. And your leaders do not want you to know this simple change, their most highly guarded secret. For this simple change that delivers universal wealth will end their control over the people. The change is elegantly simple, so simple that it just might catch on with people and sweep across the nation. If it does get swept into action, then the people's buying power and standard of living will multiply as dramatically as we observed in the computer industry during the personal computer revolution. Poverty will perish. Everyone will become wealthy, and our leaders will lose their privileged positions of power and wealth. What could possibly be such a simple change that would, one, cause a spectacular boost to our wealth, and two, eradicate poverty? By forbidding just one thing among our leaders, everything changes dramatically for the better. That one thing is initiatory force. By forbidding initiatory force among our leaders, the political machine can no longer impede progress and burden everything good. A great technological revolution would drive down costs and drive up our buying power as rapidly as we witnessed in the unimpeded computer revolution, but across the entire economic landscape. As with the computers, your buying power over everything would multiply many times over. You would become wealthy. Everyone would become wealthy, including the poor. To understand the rightness of this prosperity explosion requires a deeper philosophical understanding of human life, which I thoroughly expose in my 30-plus years of writings, which Mark Hamilton thoroughly exposed in his 30-plus years of writings in his Neothink manuscripts. To simplify that philosophical understanding for those who have not read his literature, let me ask one simple yet profound question. Why should one adult control another? Only one type of force is necessary among humankind, and that is self-defense force. Although initiatory force has always existed in every ruling body, including the American political system, it is unnecessary and actually very damaging to humankind. But people believe it is necessary, and they do not know it is extremely damaging to their property because initiatory force has always existed within all political systems. It is the leader's greatest kept secret. People have never seen the other political paradigm of no political force to compare to. There is one simple law, the Prime Law, that would successfully remove initiatory force from our political system via the Prime Law as an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The tenets of the Prime Law were blocked by every government since leaders first enjoyed their power thousands of years ago. The Prime Law. The fundamental of protection. Preamble. The purpose of human life is to prosper and live happily. The function of government is to provide the conditions that let individuals fulfill that purpose. The Prime Law guarantees those conditions by forbidding the use of initiatory force, fraud, or coercion by any person or group against any individual, property, or contract. Article 1. No person, group of persons, or government shall initiate force, threat of force, or fraud against any individual, self, property, or contract. Article 2. Force is morally and legally justified only for protection from those who violate Article 1. Article 3. No exceptions shall exist for Articles 1 and 2. This simple yet profound law would eradicate poverty across America and multiply prosperity for every American, as explained throughout this platform. This simple yet profound law would also remove the leaders' power and control over the people, which is why they have fought to keep this specific knowledge from leaking for thousands of years. The resulting economic freedom would send buying power soaring. The unregulated computer revolution was a small forerunner of the great technological revolution that will send buying power soaring 100-fold, even 1,000-fold, making everyone rich. This entirely new approach, for the first time based upon self-defense force for protection only, excuse me, will make everyone wealthy, including the poor. The new protection-only political system rises from the entirely new idea of no initiatory force exists in our government. At first, the idea seems ridiculous, for no political system has ever existed without the power of initiatory force, and that is because the leaders would not allow it. But when reading this platform, the resulting wealth, health, and peace becomes evident and overwhelming. It is the people's greatest gift, the leader's worst nightmare. A new political system ushered in by a new political party can take us into the new dimension of protection-only politics. The name of that political party is the 12 Visions Party, named after the 12 Neothink visions of our wealthy and peaceful world after the Prime Law Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, as you will see inside. A fundamental change to a protection-only government affects everyone in America spectacularly for the better. Today, America, and tomorrow the world, discovers the new political system that brings us the wealthy, healthy, and peaceful 12 Visions world. A world in which everyone is wealthy, including today's poor. When enough people read this platform, the change will come. pass this platform to a loved one or a friend after you finish reading it.
Wow. Woo! Amazing stuff.
Yep.
Wow.
To me, this is what brings out my passion. Is just the idea of a world in which someone can't come to me and tell me to do something, and if I say for very real and practical and conscientious reasons no, they can't point a gun at me and force me to do it. Unfortunately, the world we live in now, if you refuse to do something for a perfectly reasonable and conscientious reason, somebody can point a gun at you and force you to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, this is, if I just want to say something with the prime law, it's a natural law. It's very logical. And what Mark wrote, he says, for instance, the thing that got me, if you take 100 well-educated men and women in his writings, and you ask them their thoughts on important issues of law and politics, they bombard you with many different opinions and agendas, like the Senate and the House, the judicial system. So what happens with the prime law is it's law. It will not allow that to happen, okay? What happens is it removes men and their endless opinions and agendas from creating, interpreting, and executing law. So it's flawless, like Mark says. And as we know, men are flaw-filled, you know, so it's exciting. It's an exciting thing to me. We got to, all of us, try to bring this, you know, educate people about this and stimulate people about this. Okay?
I mean, to me, the thing about it is it's so simple, almost anyone can understand it.
Right.
Whereas most laws that come out of government today are so complicated that you have to hire a lawyer to tell you what it means. Is it no wonder that a majority of people making laws today are lawyers?
Exactly. And the law, from what it started, whatever they were trying to create in the beginning, it's changed 100-fold by the end of the writing. So it doesn't have the original thing that it was meant to do. So yeah.
Yeah, the worst thing today is that not only how can you obey a law if you can't even understand what you're being told to do? I mean, to me, that's what's wrong with the world. Half the time, I don't know if I do something. I mean, I have to hire a lawyer just to tell me whether or not what I want to do is legal, because there are so many laws.
Well, there's a goal intended for that, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because the way they look at it, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Whether you understand it or not, you have to obey it, and you're bound by it.
Yep, even though you didn't agree to it.
Right, and they just like to keep it that way. You're ignorant of what's going on, and you don't know what to do, so you just follow the law and do what we tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right, exactly right.
And also, there are so many laws that if someone in authority decides that they don't like what you're doing, they'll find a way to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it is, you know. And even though I'm not saying that there was a conspiracy, people didn't, you know, a bunch of men didn't get together in a dark room and say, you know, we're going to set up all these laws so we'll have total control. It's just grown by what people have done over the past 240 years, over what, you know, every decision every person in government has made over the past 240 years has come to what we have now, where we have government basically invading every aspect of our lives, to the point where, you know, there's nothing you can do without somebody looking over your shoulder or holding their hand out for some money.
Yeah, well, basically what it is they created the game, and you just follow their rules and play the game. That's it. Do as they tell you.
Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the show, I said I was a self-leader, and I decided and acted for myself. Part of being a self-leader is that I don't accept outside authorities. I am my own highest authority. However, I'm also a practical person, and I basically cooperate with what I'm being forced to do under duress. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But I know if I don't do what I'm being told to do, that I'll end up in jail or worse.
Right, but we need to distinguish when you say that you're a self-leader and you don't follow external authority, there are things that you have to follow, like experts, doctors and dentists, because you can't figure out what's wrong with you on your own. You might do some research, but in the final analysis, if you need an operation, you have to go to a surgeon. So we have to make that clear. We're
Yes,
talking
but
about
also,
political. Yeah.
but also being a self-leader means in the end you make the decision. You don't
Right.
just blindly follow what you're being told to do in any
Right. Good point.
situation.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, let's move on to the next section. Let's see, Bob, you want to just read the part that starts with making every American wealthy, and stop where it says the 7 immediate effects of the 12 Visions Party with its prime law?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Making every American wealthy. There is a way to end poverty, hunger, and disease. There is a way to make everyone wealthy. Ending poverty and making everyone wealthy requires an entirely new dimension of governing. The 12 Visions Party, with its prime law, takes civilization into the new dimension never entered before on Earth. In the new dimension, all people will experience a wealthy lifestyle, even today's poor. In turn, our leaders lose their improper power and prestige. Until now, all forms of governing, tyrannies, dictatorships, fascism, communism, socialism, democracies, republics, even so-called capitalism in our world all fall under the one and only dimension of governing experience on Earth. That one and only dimension allows varying degrees of initiatory force in the governing body. Never before has initiatory force been so explicitly banished from the governing body. Now, with the prime law, for the first time, government, law, and the people's prosperity can go into a new dimension. That new dimension is civilization free of initiatory force, which means free of the rule of man. There has never been a civilization free of the rule of man. Our leaders would have never allowed it. The results will be soaring new technologies that drive down the course of it explained throughout this platform. Your buying power is the next dimension, will soar as never seen before. That soaring buying power will pull the poor out of poverty and push everyone into the wealthy elite class. The 12 Visions Party, with its prime law, takes us into the new dimension of no rule of man. Poverty and hunger will vanish, disease will be eradicated, everyone will be rich. The pages that follow explain all this, but here is the summary. Rule of man destroys all civilizations throughout history. The greater the move away from rule of man, the greater the prosperity. America is a shining example, but without the prime law, over time the rule of man adapts, evolves, and takes over and takes down civilization. This is happening now to America, to the greatest country that ever existed on Earth. America was founded on the most rule of man resistance governing body ever conceived. But without the prime law, America was still stuck in the only dimension ever known on Earth, the same dimension in which initiatory force exists in the governing body. Therefore, the rule of man eventually took over, and the rule of man is now taking America down. The 12 Visions Party, with the prime law, takes us into another dimension never known on Earth, in which initiatory force does not exist in the governing body. This new dimension will end poverty, hunger, and even disease, and will make you rich. It will also end the elitist power and end rule of man, which is why they have never allowed this idea to leak. The 12 Visions Party, with its prime law, is the answer to all our problems. The dangerous debt goes away with the prime law-based protection-only budget. Poverty goes away with the unburdened, rapidly advancing new technology driving down costs. Diseases go away with unburdened, rapidly advancing new medical technologies and life-saving drugs. We enter a new dimension never known before, the dimension of no ruling class, the dimension of pure freedom. Without a ruling class, civilization will advance at never before known speeds. All arguments against the new dimensions will quickly subside in light of the results that eradicated poverty, hunger, and disease. That raises everyone's standard of living to that of a millionaire or more. But to go into the next dimension is not easy, since it has never been so much as envisioned before. And that is why Mark Hamilton founded the 12 Visions Party with his prime law. The 12 Visions Party is bringing to civilization a new dimension that eradicates the rule of man, ending the ruling class. Make no mistake, not even the beautiful America experienced this other dimension, which is why we are going down today. The 12 Visions Party is a precious but fragile gift being offered to mankind. Accept this gift.
Thank you, Bob. I just wanted to mention that I do have the Q&A set up, so if any of our viewers wants to ask a question, they should be able to see the Q&A on the right side of their screen and should be able to type in their questions. So to me, this is what's so new and wonderful about the 12 Visions movement and the prime law, because it basically changes government from a group of people that are ruling over us and telling us what to do in every aspect of our lives, to a group of people whose the only thing they can do is protect us. And so therefore we can become the persons we were meant to be and live the life we were meant to live, and you know, prosper by, you know, moving forward with our deepest motivational root and creating values to share with everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfortunately, today, Bill, most people are so comfortable and
Right.
familiar with people ruling them.
Yeah.
What happens is they look at the prime law and these possibilities, and they say, no, this could never happen. It won't work. It can't be done. Blah blah.
Right.
All their different reasons, and unfortunately, it's so simple, and people are so accustomed to being led that they just don't see the possibilities, and people just don't have those dreams today either, and the vision to be able to see what could be.
Yeah.
Yes,
I agree. I agree.
And also, yeah.
I'm sorry, Bill.
Go
Just
ahead,
one- It's to me, it seems like a daunting task, removing, you know, initiatory force and rule of man, as it says, as Mark says, it's never happened ever in civilization. So, and what you said, Bob, people are so used to being followed and want to be followed. They don't want to change. That's the issue, because they're so miserable or so stuck in their automatic way of reacting to the world that they don't stop to think. You, me, and Bill are seekers and searchers. We're always questioning things. But unfortunately, most people are stuck in their job and living and coming home from work and then getting up and going back to work, retiring, and waiting to die. So it's a daunting task to try to bring this 12 Visions Party and Prime Law, you know, to the attention of people. You know, but we got to try. We got it right.
And it's so easy for them to sit back and say, "Oh, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. This is what our leaders wanted us to do. This is what they made us do.
Right.
It's not my fault." You know.
Right. Because they don't want to they don't want to accept responsibility for
That's it.
changing their lives and
Yep.
making it a better world. Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah.
I know you want to
Plus,
chime in.
people are so distracted that they don't even think about these things. I
Absolutely.
mean, they go to work and they come home
Absolutely.
and they sit in front of the TV and watch whatever entertainment is put forward, and they don't think. They just
Exactly.
watch TV until they get tired, and then they go to bed and get up and go to work, and then come home and park themselves in front of the TV again. Whatever it is they like, whether it's, you know, sitcoms or dramas or reality television or sports, all of these things, you know, people just, because they don't want to, you know, they don't want to, long ago they forgot the person they were meant to be. They forgot their deepest motivational roots. So now they're just living.
I have a little plaque on the top of my desk here that reminds me every day, every time I walk into my office here. It's a simple saying, "I'm responsible."
Right. Well, but all three of us were guilty of this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What made all of us change? What made all of what? I can tell you what made me change. I just got very frustrated for working for 20 years and not getting anywhere and being told what to do, making somebody else money, and not making myself happy. You know.
Yeah. What made us change is we're all seekers. We're all looking for something better. And this is what made us change and made us go about what we're doing today.
So how do we reach the non-seekers and the people who are already wealthy that don't want to change? You know what I mean? They're happy with their lives, and they don't see this as a viable option. Neothink or 12 Visions World or the 12 Visions Party. What do we do?
As we continue taking responsibility and doing our things, we are going to improve, we are going to get better, and we are going to advance mankind, and people are going to see this. And as they see us succeeding at what we're doing, then they will start to come around and say, "Hey, maybe we need to take another look at this." You know? And that's what it's going to take, and that's the only thing that's going to make it happen is we keep striving to make the world a better place to live.
Good point.
And in addition, with shows like this, we'll show people what the 12 Visions world is and why it's so, what's so wonderful about it and why they would want to live in that world rather than in the world we're living in now.
Another good point. Good point. Yep. You answered my question.
Mm-hmm. So we'll go on to the next section, and what we're going to do is read each of these facts and then briefly discuss them. Okay, this section is called "The 7 Immediate Effects of the 12 Visions Party with its Prime Law." I'll go ahead and take the first one, and then we'll rotate, if that's all right with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yep. First and foremost, the immediate effect of the 12 Visions Party will be the end of poverty. Rule of man is inextricably linked to poverty. The 12 Visions Party, with its prime law, is the party to end rule of man and poverty. Only the TVP can take us into a new dimension where rule of man does not exist, where poverty does not exist. Why? The prime law. The prime law eradicates initiatory force. Without initiatory force, there can be no rule of man. Of course, your leaders do not want you to know this. So the first, foremost, and immediate effect of the 12 Visions Party will be the end of poverty.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
Myself. Why is the rule of man blamed for poverty in our country or all over the world? What's the reasoning behind that?
Because when you have men deciding what the laws are, how to interpret them, and how to enforce them, they inevitably they don't do it impartially because they have their own desires and wants, and and they want to use their authority to their own benefit, and therefore their actions aren't to help people prosper and succeed. Their actions are to get votes.
Yeah, one thing you got to remember, the flaw of men in general is primarily men are interested in their own well-being and their own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So in whatever they're doing, even though they offer the appearance that they're doing it to better mankind and to help mankind, ultimately what they're doing is they're bettering their own pockets.
So they're perpetuating ego and making themselves wealthy, and they're creating a working class or a poverty class of people.
Yes.
Basically, is what you're saying.
And of course, when we say men, we do mean men and women, because because it's not only men who are in government and are passing laws and enforcing laws and so on. And everything we say applies to women as well as men. Women are also, women also have, desires and wants, and they always put those foremost. All of us do. So if we change government so that they cannot, that they don't have the authority to put their needs in front of everyone else's, and that all they can do is protect us, then we have the 12 Visions world, and we end poverty, because then everyone will be able to find their deepest motivational root, become the person they were meant to be, and live the life they were meant to live, and prosper by sharing values with everyone else.
Good point. That explains the whole thing about poverty. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Okay, Harry, you want to go in and read the next one, the second one?
I'll be more than happy to read it. The second stunning effect of the 12 Visions Party will be rapid eradication of many diseases. The rule of man's regulatory bureaucracies politicize the medical industry and destroy it. When we end the rule of man and their regulatory bureaucracies can no longer politicize the medical industry, then research and development money will dramatically pour into the medical industry. The result will be rapid and uninhibited medical progress in an environment of no debilitating web of political regulations retarding progress. Wow. The 12 Visions Party, with its prime law and protection-only budget, will depoliticize the medical industry. The war against disease will then move very fast, with nothing political holding the geniuses back, supercharged by record amounts of research and development money pouring in. Cancer, heart disease, and possibly the ultimate disease, aging itself, will be cured within a decade in the 12 Visions world. Well, I hope so. I hope it's within 10 years anyway. Wow. Terrific.
Yeah, the biggest problem we have today in what's called healthcare is that there are so many regulations that, that doctors basically have to spend all their time proving that they're doing things right, rather than just doing what they want to do. Doctors don't want to hurt you just to make money. I mean, if they hurt too many people, they'll be out of business. You can't, in the medical industry, you can't get away with cheating people and hurting people, because eventually people are going to notice that, what you're doing isn't working. You can only get away with it when you have, something shielding you. And in a lot of ways, the regulations also shield doctors who aren't doing a good job. But it makes all doctors' jobs more difficult, more expensive, harder. And with the kind of litigation we have nowadays, doctors basically, they don't want to innovate. They don't want to try new things to help people, because they're afraid that if they make a mistake, their lives are going to be destroyed. Protecting people from people who are bad is good, but not when you go to the point where you're making it difficult for everybody just to protect from a few people that are bad. And that's not only in the medical industry, that's everywhere. That's what government does. A few people are bad, do harm people, do bad things, and the government steps in and says, okay, we're going to make sure nobody ever does this again by making life difficult for everybody.
Right. So they overgeneralize.
Yep.
So if few people do bad, then everybody suffers. It's either all or nothing type of
And
thing.
that's why we have to have insurance for healthcare, because all the government regulation is made just taking care of yourself so expensive that you can't afford to do it out of your own pocket. You have to have insurance to do it. I mean, without the all the medical industry overregulation, you'd be able to go see the doctor and be able to pay for it out of your pocket. It would be so inexpensive, and also without the overregulation of medications, any medication you needed would be cheap enough that you could get it yourself without having to have insurance to pay for it for you.
Interesting.
But people in the insurance industry make a lot of money from providing insurance, and they want to keep it this way so that they continue to make their money. At least that's my impression of the way the healthcare industry works. So the insurance industry is going to keep pressing for more regulations and all of this to keep it expensive, so that we need insurance rather than just being able to pay for our healthcare out of our pocket.
Yeah, you hear things so bad that people want to go out of the country. People that have certain diseases that there's no cure for in America, and there's so much regulation and problems that people can't get the drugs that they want. They go to Mexico or they go to other countries to try to keep their life. Remember the movie with Matthew McConaughey in the Dallas Club, the Dallas 4 Club or something, where he's dying of AIDS? And
I've never seen that movie, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he because of all the rules and regulations, he couldn't get the drugs he needed to stay alive in America, so he went to Mexico. And then he was able to sneak it back into the country. And he added another 10 years to his life. Dallas Club 40 or something. I know I'm getting the name wrong. But everybody listening to this should check it out. It's a very interesting movie.
I agree.
It relates to this.
If you look around the world at the largest businesses and industries, you're going to find it's government, the medical industry, drug companies, your news industry, the media. These are all the people that are making the money, the people that have the control.
Yeah.
We have to live within their rules.
Yeah. External authorities, yeah.
Okay, we'll go on to the third effect. Bob, you want to go ahead and read that?
Sure. The third welcomed effect of the 12 Visions Party will be eradication of terrorism and crime. The entire might and force of government will be protection. There will be no competing funds. Today, for example, entitlement money competes with national defense and national security because politicians, example, man, run the country. Their vote collecting entitlement money ultimately wins, which jeopardizes national security. Why does the entitlement money eventually win? The battle of the budget over protection money. Well, entitlement money buys votes. Rule of man running our country with selfish self-election fever, pushes for vote-buying entitlement money, which jeopardizes national security. When we remove the rule of man, when the prime law is an amendment to the United States Constitution, at that time our civilization moves into another dimension, into pure freedom in which government's sole purpose is to protect its people. All money, all focus goes towards protection, which would minimize terrorism and crime unlike we have ever seen before. Moreover, people may lose their modest entitlement money, but they will quickly live like millionaires, as explained in the pages to follow. Also, Social Security will be paid back with interest as seen on the pages to follow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
That
there are
entitlement
many.
money. Wow.
Go ahead.
No, that's saying what the thing that struck me is the vote buying entitlement money. And you know we're our federal debt is trillions and trillions of dollars. The only and what is both parties, they just have one person coming in on the Democratic Party, it goes up. The federal budget goes up. They vote in another someone from the other party, it goes up. There's no change from
No, there isn't.
every 4 years. The 12 Visions Party offers a change. The 12 Visions Party, what they'll do is they'll get rid of maybe half the federal budget by getting rid of all these entitlement programs. So we do have an alternative to the status quo. That's all I wanted to say. But that really got to me, the entitlement part in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to this, the way, you know, we have things that that don't make sense to me, such as the war on drugs. I mean, basically,
Right. Yeah.
basically because a few people couldn't handle taking drugs, and a few people had their lives destroyed, you know, by taking drugs. They decided, oh, we're going to solve this by outlawing all these drugs. And then what they did by outlawing the drugs is create a black market, which creates crime, which ruins more lives because people have to turn to crime in order to buy the drugs. If we didn't have prohibition of drugs, drugs would be safely manufactured and would be inexpensive, and people wouldn't have to turn to crime to take drugs. And eventually people would lose interest in it, and there wouldn't be people killing each other over the rights to sell drugs, which is what we have now.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Never thought of it. Never thought of it like that.
I mean, they repealed alcohol prohibition because they had the same problems then. Alcohol prohibition created organized crime, or at least made it prominent in America, because then they were organized crime took over the black market for alcohol, and we had the same things we have now with drugs. Then, you know, people fighting and killing each other over the ability to sell alcohol illegally. Now we have people fighting and killing each other over the ability to sell drugs illegally. Because the drugs are illegal, they can charge whatever they want for them, and therefore there's a lot of money to be made.
Plus, you have the big business of law enforcement trying to track down these drug people.
Exactly.
And you know, they're fighting and getting killed and killing people, and you know that adds to the momentum of what's going on. Whereas if they just turned around and legalized the drug and say, okay, the drugs are legal, if you want to use them and you know they're going to kill you, it's similar to smoking.
Mm-hmm.
They put the ad on the smoking, for example. This drug, maybe this cigarette or product may be hazardous to your health. People go ahead and smoke them anyway. And you see
Yes, they do.
in the hospitals, you see doctors and physicians and nurses and people working in the medical industry. They're outside getting a breath of fresh air, smoking their cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
They know they're harmful to them, but yet they continue to do it. So who's going to lose in the long run by it? Those individuals. The same with the drugs. If you let the drug users use their drugs, all right, people are going to die. The people that insist on using those drugs, knowing that they're not good for them, they're going to die. But you're not going to lose a lot of innocent people in the process of having that happen. You know, let people make their own decisions, what they want.
Great analogy, Bob.
Mm-hmm. And in addition, all this money that's spent to enforce the prohibition of drugs can be spent to help people, and through counseling and other things,
right,
to stop taking the drugs and move on to a productive, prosperous, healthy life.
could be maybe be used to curing the children that are dying because of diseases that they have, or helping our servicemen to come back from fighting our wars. Although we may not agree with the wars that they're fighting, but we still put these people out there protecting us, and they're entitled to things when they come back. If they go out there and they lose a limb or something in the process of protecting us, well, then we owe it to them to help support their lives and help them get over whatever debilitated effect they have.
Yep, we forget about the veterans. You're right. You're right.
I agree.
Good points, guys. Really good points.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the fourth one. Actually, I think I'm going to cut it here, and we'll pick this up in the next show because we are running toward the end of the allotted time.
Very quick hour, Bill.
Yes, a lot to talk about. So we're gonna stop at the fourth effect, and we're gonna pick that up in the next show. Just wanted to say, getting to the 12 Visions world. There are us who are willing to come forward and volunteer and take action, but there are ways that everyone can help that don't require them to do what we're doing. But if you're interested in that, we're definitely interested in hearing from you. But here are some ways you can help. Tell your family, friends, and neighbors about the 12 Visions movement, and if you see candidates for the 12 Visions party on the ballot, vote for them. And support the 12 Visions movement by contributing money or volunteering to help, becoming involved with the organization and planning by joining the 12 Visions party in your state, as we have done. Also, you can help with the effort of this show by supporting it. Tell everyone you know about it. Tell them why you like it. Tell them, and just share with them that you're watching the show and you think it might be a good idea for them to watch it. Also, you can support the show by going to Patreon and giving a small amount of money for each episode to help us, help the costs of putting on the show, maintaining the equipment we use, the computers and everything. That address is patreon.com/creatinganewworld. Also, if you have any questions or have any ideas about how we can continue to let everyone know about this, you can send them to WHUNSICKER@gmail.com, and I'll repeat that, WHUNSICKER@gmail.com. I want to thank my two panelists for joining me. Thank you, Harry.
Oh, it's great hour. Real quick, I wish we can continue. Terrific.
And thank you very much, Bob.
You're welcome, Bill. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you everyone who watches this show, and I wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and freedom.